some schools are great, but they're not great for your child. As the school year is about to start, what are your plans for your children? Welcome to Learning with Mrs. O. And today we'll be talking about questions to ask and the things to look out for as we're about to enter into a new school year. And as some of us are going to be going school hunting, so what are the questions you're going to be asking the school admission officer when you meet them? And what are the things that are very important for you to look out for? So I'm going to start by saying that even if your child is returning to their pre-existing school, that is the school they were last session, I think it is important that we go back and ask some questions because sometimes the values of schools drop, you never can tell. And then it's important you are sure that you are still getting value for money and your child is still being exposed and getting the maximum amount of quality education that they can get. And also, I think it's important as a parent, as the school year starts, you pray about the school your children is going into because different things are going on out there. And as I would always say, if you think something is wrong, something is wrong. So if you have a second opinion, if you have a itch that's making you feel like, oh, I'm not sure this child should go back or not go back, I think you should actually go back and ask some questions because as parents, we need to always learn to obey our instincts and follow our instinct and also pray. Most of the time you will know exactly what to do. And then another point I have as the new school year opens is that we should learn to cut our coat according to our material. Usually our advice, what is your budget as a family? What can you afford? If you have 2 kids, 3 kids, what can you afford? When you know your budget as a family for your children's school tuition, then you can go out there and look for schools within that school range. I know it's important that we all want fancy schools and all of that, but we also have to always work within the budget of what we have. Now, when that is taken care of, when you already know the schools you are looking at going into to ask questions, what are the key questions to ask when looking out for new schools for your children or even pre-existing schools? If I'm seated in front of an admission officer, I'm going to ask questions like, what was your last major crisis in the school and how did you handle it? That will give me an insight into their emergency protocols, it'll give me an insight into their security systems, it'll give me an insight into how they respond to emergencies. I'm going to ask questions about what are their anti-bullying policy because we know that there has to be a system in place to ensure our kids are not being bullied in the school. The next question I'm going to be asking is how often do they get their staff tested for transmittable diseases? Our children are exposed to the teachers a lot, and it's important that we are sure that they are in safe hands, whether they are young children or older children. The next question I'm going to be asking is what are the hygiene protocols? How do they ensure the children are clean? How often do they wash their hands? How do they clean the environment? Cleanliness, they say, is next to godliness, and most of the time, once the environment is clean and well maintained, it is how often your child gets sick. How also do they ensure that easily transmittable diseases are not passed on along to children? When children are sick, do they have a sick bay to put them separately so that they don't pass it along to other children? These are very important questions to ask. It is also important to ask what is their teacher to pupil ratio? How many teachers are in the class? How many helpers are in the class? So as to ensure that the children are getting enough one-on-one attention and they are not being left on their own. The next question is going to be how are children assessed? How often are they assessed? Are children below 3, 4 exposed to examination? In my own opinion, I don't think it's necessary at all. The next question I'm going to be asking is what is your homework policy like? I think there should be a policy around homework. How often is homework sent home? Is it compulsory? Ask questions like that so that you are sure that whatever is coming home, you are already in agreement with it from the beginning. Not that during the term that you start complaining. Another important question to ask is how are children with different learning styles supported in the classroom? I know that some of us know about the fact that children have different learning styles. Some children are kinetics learners, some children are visual learners, some children are auditory learners. How are all of these areas put into considerations when lessons are planned? Because your child might be a visual learner, and if all the child has access to in the classroom are auditory learning systems, then the child may just be struggling without knowing that the child just does not have the right means and is not being exposed to the right method of learning. I also think it is important to ask about their extracurriculum activities. What extracurriculum activities do they have in place for your children? Sports, music, art. What are the ways they plan to help your child develop outside of the classroom? And also, it's important to ask how many subjects is being offered. What are the core subjects that they offer, and how do they support children learning on a one-on-one basis. All right, so I've been able to talk about the different questions and things you need to ask an admission officer when you walk into a new school or even your pre-existing child's school. It is important that as parents that we ask these important questions to ensure that our children are getting the best out of the system. It is also important to help you know if you are getting value for money and also if the system of the school suits your child. Because the truth is, some schools are great, but they are not great for your child. So it's important that you ask the right question to be sure that the school is the best fit for your child. I hope you have found this video helpful. In the next video, we're going to be talking about homework. It's a very interesting topic. I know a lot of people think to be banished forever. Watch out for my next video. Bye.